Well, glad to have you back. You're watching Daybreak. It's now time to take a look at what's making the headlines on the papers from around the world this morning. Let's begin with this thing. Well, the paper has its lead with Osinbajo. That's the Vice President of Nigeria. Buhari is Nigeria's most popular, only credible leader ever. Insists Nigeria better off united. Optimistic nation will overcome challenges. There's also the Monday interview with the governor of Ekiti State, Governor Kayode Fayemi, who says without a doubt he will like to think that he has the requisite qualifications to be president of Nigeria. However, there's a but there. Pick a copy of this day to find out the full story from that interview. Above the nameplate this morning, Tinubu, that's the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Nigeria's ruling party. He says, only God can take my life. But Jabiamila, who's the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the country, Sanwo-Olu, who's the Governor of Lagos State, and Olamileko, a Senator, say work has started for task ahead. That's pretty much the front page of this day this morning.
All right, moving on to the Guardian newspaper this morning on the front page here. Energy crisis sets to push petrol, diesel prices above 350 naira per litre. More hurdles for consumers as LPG, electricity prices soar. Stakeholders fear increasing poverty, food items, foreign exchange scarcity and job losses. Continuing petrol subsidy is postponing the evil day, experts are warning. Now, the headline just below on the Guardian newspaper this day, the Girl Child Day is today, and advocates are lamenting nothing to celebrate. Our girls have been left behind. Experts harp on improved girl-child education for national development. And groups sensitize female students on rights, self-belief, and sex education. This and more from the Guardian newspaper this morning.
The Punch is reporting why the Nigerian federal government can't remove fuel subsidy now, and it's quoting NNPC, marketers and experts. The Punch newspaper says they are saying it would be disastrous to remove subsidy without refineries working. That's according to Ipman. Subsidy now political matter. All Nigerians shouldering it, says ex-LCCI DG. No provision in 2022 budget, but petrol subsidy continues, declares NNPC. A couple of other headlines on the front page of the Punch. Federal government to spend 44.64 billion naira on military equipment, arms, ammunition. Senior advocate of Nigeria writes Malami threatens suit over Nigeria's $62 billion with oil firms, and change of guard imminent in 2021. Throw away 1999 constitution, says Bakare, one of the pastors of the leading mega churches in Nigeria. But the lead photograph for the Punch this morning is a very disturbing one. It's a flooded road. It's along the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, Ogun State, yesterday.
And moving on to the Nation's newspaper this morning, the leading headline says the Central Bank of Nigeria is telling commercial banks to review loans to oil and gas, agriculture and other sectors. They say this will guarantee the stability of their operations and financial markets undergoing litmus test. And just below that, Tinubu says, I'm happy to be back home as the ex-governor reunites with associates. And above the nameplates, three more headlines. IU's entry into the PDP chairs race reshapes that race, and form sales begin today. Terrorists colluding with bandits, says the federal government. And another headline here on The Nation. MTN suspects sabotage in network outage. They had a network outage for a couple hours yesterday, and 300,000 youths to get film production training. That's on The Nation's newspaper this morning.
A look at the foreign papers. Let's begin with the Daily Express. The Daily Express, stock warning. Get used to higher food bill. That's the Daily Express headline this morning, according to Heinz boss Miguel Patricio. He's warning that the cost of essential items would rise and customers would just have to get used to it.
And on the Times newspaper, ministers clash over help for factories. The Treasury says Kwarteng is making things up. The business secretary has been accused of making up talks about bailouts to keep factories open. And the picture here on the Times front page is a picture of George and Amal Clooney at a London Film Festival showing The Tender Bar, a coming-of-age drama that George has directed and is starring Ben Affleck. Final headline here on the Times newspaper: sex claims against 2,000 policemen. That's a lot of policemen. This and more on the Times newspaper.
Indeed. Well, the Daily Mirror leads on the Prime Minister's holiday with the headline, "Only here for the pair." The paper says that Mr. Johnson is staying in a luxury villa which belongs to Zach Goldsmith, who he made the pair in 2019. The paper is also quoting Shadow Treasury Minister Bridget Phillipson, who said, quote, "In the teeth of a crisis of its own making, the government has put its out of office sign on."
And for the press review, Emmanuel Bello joins us now from our offsite studio. Emmanuel, good morning. Good to see you this morning. Now, beginning quickly with this day newspaper, two very, very bold statements this morning. I'll begin with the first one from the Vice President, Osinbajo. He says, President Buhari is Nigeria's most popular, only credible leader ever. What are your thoughts?
Well, he's the vice president. Vice presidents say these things. You know, they talk about. They try to, as much as possible, be the biggest cheerleader of the man they are deputizing for. That's what vice presidents do all over the world. So he will say things like this. But of course, there are Nigerians that will question, his assertions. And maybe in the coming days, we probably will see reactions to that. But there are people too who actually say, yes, if it's in the credibility department, the president who is not stealing the national treasure he's not like most of the African despots who steal from their people and all of that. Recently, the Pandora Papers and this president was not mentioned in any way. There are people who say that you can actually, say something about his credibility and about the fact that he's an upright man. The problem a lot of people have with President Buhari is his style and the crisis around the way he's managing the economy, security, especially because people expected that as a military person, that he will get the security right. And I think he's really concerned about that because in this budget that we're dealing with, he said defense is going to be his main thing. So, and he's worried about his legacy. So I think, as he bows out of government in a few months' time, he's bound to have a lot of people around him try to say some nice things about him, try to see how they can locate his legacy within the history of the country. What kind of a president has he been? Now, Osinbajo is speaking boldly to say you can vouch for him in the credibility department. But there are Nigerians that will fact check that and say, what about the issue of efficiency? What about how has the country fared? This day is starting this controversy, and I see a situation where, as the week goes on, a lot of papers are going to weigh on that in talking to people and the reactions they are going to get on this.
They say tough times call for tough measures. Let's look at the Punch because it's reporting something in that line. Why the Nigerian government cannot remove petrol subsidy just yet. We do know this is a tough measure, but did you expect that payment of subsidy would continue this far?
No, considering all that is surrounding that subject of the subsidy, and Nigerians continuously, there's been all sorts of conversation around the issue of subsidy. Yet, the FG is now coming out to say, look, we can't do anything about it. We just have to subsidize this for Nigerians. But in other reporting, we're hearing news of the crisis that is surrounding that whole sector and the fact that, prices of petroleum products going to go high. So a lot of people are beginning to ask who is benefiting from the subsidy and what's going on. So those are the sort of things that concern Nigeria. But the FG coming out now and the Punch reporting it to say, look, there's really nothing one can do about it. But a lot of Nigerians showing a lot of concern about the coming days, the bleak projection that prices of goods and services are going to go high, gas is going to sell for some high price, and all of that. I think Nigerians are waking up this morning, reading these stories, are not very happy. Just when you think we are on the bend and things are going to get better, you have serious reporting in some other newspaper giving a terrible forecast of the coming months as we head into Christmas.
Yeah, Emmanuel, some experts would say it's just postponing the evil day. At some point, we would have to do away with these subsidy payments. But let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. This says here, Girl Child Day, nothing to celebrate. Our girls have been left behind, advocates lament. Speaking of credibility, over the past few months, we've had kidnappings of boys and girls from different schools in the northern part of the country. What are your comments on this headline?
Yeah, and the Guardian newspaper today just decided to make our life even much more miserable with all the stories there. Their first story is about the increases in the prices of petroleum products. And then the second lead is on the girl child. By the way, I just want Kachi, happy Girls Child Day. But the experts are saying that there's nothing to be happy about, and they have their reasons spelled out there. The crisis of education, the crisis of what has happened. Nigerians have seen all sort of almost crazy stories about adoption, about forced marriages, girl child. It's been a very, very bad one for the girl child, generally for everybody, but today experts are saying that the country has not done well for the girl child, and that there's really nothing to celebrate. And the statistics are there, the data is there to show that that is still an area of challenge in a country where almost everyone, whether it's a girl, whether it's a boy, whether it's a man, woman, everybody is faced with their own unique kind of challenges. But women advocate groups coming out today and say women are worse hit, the girl child is worse hit by what is happening in the country. And that's something for the federal government to look into and to worry about. Like I said, the Guardian newspaper leading with that boldly and giving all sort of forecasts, almost negative forecasts on what we should expect in the coming months.
Yes, Emmanuel. Let's take a look at the Nation's newspaper and what the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, is telling commercial banks. They say review loans to oil and gas sector, agricultural sector, the telecommunications sector, and other sectors. Why is this important now?
Well, I think it's just an issue of how to ease up our business and all of that to ensure that all these sectors, whether it is oil and gas, agriculture, whether it's telecoms and everything, that everything works. At least let's begin to have some form of efficiency in those areas. Still in the Nation newspaper, MTN had a surge the other day, and service users were affected. So probably the CBN, and that's what central banks do in all countries. They come in, they review loans and all of that. Right now, businessmen will tell you that taking a loan from the banks and to do anything, it's always close to a suicidal thing because of the interest rates and all of that. So the CBN weighing strongly on the economy. This CBN governor is so in battle. A lot of people look up to him to see what he can do for the economy. And so we'll see CBN playing central role. The other day it was about e-Naira, and now it's coming out strongly to talk to the banks and say, look, do something, review the issues of loans and all of that. They is, trying to ease up how we do businesses out here. And these are the main sector, the oil and gas, agri, telecommunication. You have to find a way of making them effective if the economy is going to be anything to write home about.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello, for the press review. We can only hope for the best for the Nigerian child, especially the Nigerian girl child.